Hello all. Hopefully that might be a bit better. Hopefully, could you let me know, please, if that's all right? The new tech didn't work, so we'll try something else. This one looks a bit better, I think. Okay, Liam. Apologies, Jens. What a start. So as we are live, please feel free to join in at any time. Also, feel free to ask some questions, which we will answer throughout. Good evening, all. Good evening, Dragos. Pete S. Tom Hartnell. John Maloney. Maninda says sausages. Sadly, Dan is not on, but thank you for the call out there. Michael N. Chris D. Frank FF Stuff. Great to have you on, Frank. Haven't seen you on before, but great to have you on. Peter G. Tom Hartnell. Ian Parrin. Chris D. And Tom Hartnell again, I think, and Michael N. Good evening, all. Welcome. Great to have you all on. Apologies about the stop start there. We're trying to optimize our streams. Hopefully it'll be a bit better. Anyway, let's get on with Sky. Firstly then, Salah, please feel free, everyone, to ask some questions in the stream. Salah, Paul, what do you think about Salah? Have you got Salah in your team? And secondly, if you have, will you be taking him out?
Yeah, on last Sunday we were talking about what we're going to do in terms of getting Zaha, Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, and my move is going to be Kane to Calvert-Lewin on Sunday to cover the captaincy, and then just hold Salah. But now I guess the doubts around whether he'll start the following Saturday as well means I'm just going to move Salah to Calvert-Lewin. I think I already own Zaha. If I hadn't owned Zaha, then that would have been my move. I guess just to continue on from the way that I've been playing thus far this season is making sure that I had the most captained player on every game day.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a good chance that Calvert-Lewin's the most captained player on Sunday. So I think I'll make that move.
So you're going for Calvert-Lewin over Vardy?
Yeah, and I think so the Vardy move. I guess people making the Vardy move isn't for Sunday's game, and more for the following Monday's game. And if we find out that Zaha doesn't have a single captaincy game day on 3 weeks in, so which he might well do against West Brom, but if he doesn't, then I'm going to move Zaha onto Vardy on the Monday night, so that'll cover off the captaincy there.
That makes sense. And roughly, how many transfers? You don't have to say exactly, Paul, but roughly what will that leave you with? About 30?
I've got 35, so that'll leave me
nice.
33.
Very nice.
And I think a lot of people will be making transfers this week anyway. So the fact that it feels like a bit of a vanity transfer, I don't mind as much, knowing that others are making a lot of moves.
Fair enough. Good evening, Martin Beasley, Tim Barry, Ian, Aaron. Just so everyone knows, Frank FF Stuff. So Frank is the guy who creates all the graphics that we've been using recently. And if you don't go on to ffstuff.co.uk, make sure you do his stuff for Sky Sports, TFF and Dream Team is really, really good. Evening, James Clover. No TV fixtures for Christmas, not yet. No, we were hoping, because normally they come out around 5 o'clock on a Friday. We haven't had them yet. Maninda Prahir asks, Liam, can I ask you, is Patricio okay to cover captain instead of bringing in Zaha and skip captain next Friday? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I have nobody on Monday or Friday, so I'm bringing somebody in. But if I didn't, I would skip, because it's Newcastle v Palace, so it's a game you can skip. And if you think the whole season amount of games we're going to have every Friday, Monday, you aren't going to hit every single game. So thinking a Palace v Newcastle game is probably the best one to miss. So yeah, I think Patricio was grand.
Wow, okay. Everyone, so we had an issue on the Sky podcast team this morning. I put out a vote, and it was either to keep Patricio or go from, I think it was Robertson to Zaha to captain, and we had a big, I think 70% of the vote voted to Robertson to Zaha. So that's quite interesting there. But I suppose it is transfer dependent as well, and I suppose if you've got 35 to or 30, it could make a difference there. Very
But what I find with Zaha, it's either a feast or famine. He either gets you 2 or he gets 10 or 11. It's either one or the other. So
Well, if he
take my
gets
chances.
if he gets the feast, mate, even in one of them, if he gets feast in both, in big trouble, blimey. But
It's kind of like last year's kind of. I never had Kevin De Bruyne, and Kevin De Bruyne first came back, overhaul Arsenal. He got a goal, assist, passing bonus, man of the match. I didn't have him, and I still won. So
and I still,
you can always, you aren't going to hit every captain. So if you miss one or two, well, you take it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love how every argument we have, you can go, well, I didn't do that, and I still won. So I think that's brilliant.
Liam, Fergie and I were talking about this the other day, and I'd be keen to get your view on it. If Salah didn't come down with COVID, and you're looking at next Saturday's game day, so Liverpool's away to Brighton in the 12:30 kickoff. Then you've got Man City playing at, I'll tell you the fixtures just now. Man City's playing at 3 at home to Burnley, Everton at home to Leeds, and West Brom at home to Sheffield United. Who do you think would be the most captained player in Sky? Without, like, obviously, without Salah having come down with COVID.
That's a good question. So you're on about Salah, Man City. I wouldn't say the Man City. The problem with Man City is that they play at 3 o'clock, so you can't see the lineups. I remember last year Man City played Watford and they won 8-0. I think I had Sterling and my main team captain. He never played. That was a big. So that's like, especially with Ferran Torres playing well, Sterling, Mahrez, Jesus is back, Guerrero's back. With Pep went to games coming up. I wouldn't, unless it's KDB, I wouldn't risk it as Man City attacker. DCL, I think, could be a good pick against Leeds because Leeds aren't defensively good. Past couple of games, he's nailed on the start. They're at home too, which is a good thing.
The hesitancy suggests that it wasn't as clear cut as what you and I thought for different reasons as well, Fergie. So that's quite interesting.
Especially, with Salah past from last year, and he's always better at home. I think away from home last year, he didn't get too many goals. I know Brighton last year he got 2 goals. I could have killed him that day when he got them 2 goals. I was so annoyed, but
you didn't have them, and you still won.
I was so annoyed, and so annoyed. It was a Tuesday night too. I would probably go DCL because Salah's not as good at home, and it's fair to Brighton. Brighton are decent. You look at most of the games, only concede 1 or 2 goals. So, like, Brighton aren't too bad defensively. So, I'd probably go DCL.
Is that your view, or what you think that the masses would do in Sky? Like, who do you think would be the most captain player?
Oh, I have Salah. I think Salah definitely be the most captain player. But kind of last year, I took a few gambles last year in captain picks, and they work well. I think I said in my article, like, if you go for the most captain player every single week, well, you're only going to finish so high. Whereas you go for a few gambles, like I made a few gambles last year, and that's how I jumped up the table. So you think if 99% of people have just say Salah and Salah blanks, and I go for like somebody from Everton, like DCL with Carson, and they get 2 goals, well, I fly up that table. So you have to go for risk start time. So, but you're right too. The masses, they would go Salah.
I thought it'd be maybe just a little bit more spread, which is why I'm not that concerned about Salah because De Bruyne's ownership is Phillies as well. I think as well, it's probably fair to say, so we say the masses, right? But we're not going to be scrapping against the masses at the end of the season. Oh. We're going to be fighting against, hopefully anyway, fighting against each other and fighting against everyone here in the chat as well. People like Lee Giles, who's already above me. He's always above me in everything. Obviously finished 7th last year. John Luke Furlong, this start is going to sound great on Spotify. Yeah, this won't be a podcast, John, which is why I did it on this stream and not on Sunday's one. This is just kind of ad hoc live stream. Martin says, do we know how many games Salah will miss? I don't think we do. Any thoughts? I think this week is probably inevitable, but I think the only thing we've got to go off, you mentioned it earlier just before we started, was that Ronaldo took, I think, 19 days, was it you said, before, after a negative test, and Havertz as well tested positive. It seems like, a good month ago now, and he's not back on the pitch yet either. So I think the only thing probably in Salah's favour is they have got so many injuries and they haven't had a great start either. They're almost going to be forced to play him, as much as they can. But that's not good either then because, you risk injury, you risk burnout and whatever else.
Well, in his position, you've got Jota, who's doing well, and
Jota's
obviously,
doing,
obviously Firmino's a favourite of Klopp's, even though you could argue he's out of form, especially in front of goal. But I guess that's where they've got least problems.
Agree. We've got a bit of a stranger in the chat. Dan Cox, anyone heard of him? Says, oi, oi. Michael N says sausages. Hello there. And Liam has just set that game up for 4-0 one way or the other. Let's hope for. I think we're on about Zaha then. Jambo, just touching on Zaha. Zaha in for Kane. There's a potential 3-for-1. 3-for-1s will be rare during the Christmas period. I think that Kane's games now, I think these, so I'm a Spurs fan, and I think these games are probably a bit better set up for Son these next two at least, if not three. I can see Arsenal maybe sitting a bit deeper. I think you've mentioned a couple of times, Paul, that Arsenal tend to let the team have possession and come onto a little bit, but the next two, Man City and Chelsea, certainly don't do that, and they will be going to try and win the games. And I think that suits Son more than Kane purposely. And Mourinho has come out in the last week or two as well, and said after that West Ham game they set up a bit differently, similarly to Wolves, kind of make sure we win the game, which I'm not sure maybe suits itself, but there is that potential and probable, according to Ian, Spurs v Arsenal game on the Monday night potentially. Liam, what do you think about Zaha to Kane for a 3-for-1? When we say a 3-for, we need to be really, really clear here, is that means getting Kane back in as well. I think, and I know you're big on this, Paul, as well, aren't you? It's not just a 3-for-1. You then haven't got Kane. So what do you think, Liam?
Yeah, I think it's a good move. 3-for-1. You'd fancy your odds that Zaha will outscore him over 3 games, especially when his game. Who's his game against? Oh, they play Chelsea next week, is it?
Chelsea,
yeah. Yeah, you would fancy chances. Then also have I think he's going to get him back in then. Yeah, that's a fine move. 3-1. You'd fancy chances. But then again, I always hate Zaha as a player. I never have him in teams. Zaha could easily go in 3 games, get 2 points in each game, and then Kane gets 2 goals and he scores in 5 or 6. So, but you'd fancy the law of averages. Zaha should outscore him. So yeah, it's a good move.
I think with Zaha, I saw an article this week. I think it was in The Athletic, saying that he basically said that he's going to try and just do what he wants a little bit more. I think he feels that in previous seasons he's been a bit more withdrawn, and obviously haven't got the exact quotes in front of me, but he was saying things like, I think I can score more goals, so I'm going to try and score more goals. I can take penalties, so why shouldn't I take penalties? And obviously he is playing up front, he is on penalties. As far as we know, I doubt Van Aanholt will be above Zaha, because obviously Zaha is likely the more senior player. I think it's the Palace team more than Zaha for me. Is Palace don't tend to score a lot of goals, even though they scored 4 against Leeds. But I think he's a decent pick. And Tim says Kane is a seasoned keeper, can score against anyone. And Tom Hartnell says as well, I feel the least risky options actually take out Salah at the moment. Plenty of captaincy options other than him coming up too. So I personally agree with that. So I'm taking out Salah. I was going straight to Vardy, but actually that I was on Vardy or Calvert-Lewin, but you reminded me about that potential Calvert-Lewin game at home to Leeds. I'm more excited for the Leeds game rather than the Fulham game on Sunday, but you would get to see the lineups on Sunday as well. Richarlison's back, he's going to be good. But home to Leeds. Leeds have conceded, I think it's 4 in their last 2. They just can't even defend, even though the midfielder Jack.
Phillips is back. Phillips is back, isn't he? I think he's back playing.
I'm thinking of. Sorry, not
he's back.
Yeah, so they may be a bit stronger, but I think that's a toss-up. It'd be interesting actually to see in the chat. Could we just have a vote on Vardy or Calvert-Lewin for Sunday? Let's just have a stream of Vardy or Calvert-Lewin. Really interesting one there.
What's that question?
Only thing with Calvert-Lewin. Go on, sorry. I was going to say that the problem with Calvert-Lewin is that they play on the early kickoff, and I hate I hate, especially 12 o'clock on Sunday. Them games are usually kind of tentative. I have DCL on my team, but I just hate them early kickoffs, because it could ruin your day if he blanks.
I think the only thing again with Vardy, and and a part of the reason I was planning on bringing him in is the following Monday evening match as well, and it is their home to Fulham, where West Ham have got Villa. So you assuming there that most people's captain would be Grealish.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there. Anyone else? Maybe Antonio if you've held on, but not really sure. Lewis Sowers said very laggy. Hoping you're watching it right from the start and it's all right now. Again, let us know if you've had any issues, guys. Seems to be okay on my screen. We've got a bit of a mix. We've had 1, 2, 3, 5 DCLs, four Vardys actually. 5 Vardys. So we got 5 and 5. That has cleared that up. Fantastic. Thanks for that. Liam, we had some questions earlier on Twitter. You was able to just have a quick look through and
yeah, Reese SkyFF asked that question. Sell out, but for who? Vardy or DCL? So I think we've just covered that off.
we covered it off with no
clear as mud. And you'd mentioned Tom Hartnell. He had asked a question earlier on. I really want to get Ruben Diaz in my team, but in order to do it, I need to make 2 transfers. I see him as the best defender in the game long term. Worth the 2 moves. Liam, I know you're a massive Ruben Diaz fan.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, you mentioned that he was kind of the one player that didn't move from your team from the overhaul. What's your thoughts?
It depends who you're taking out, but yeah, I would do it because you think Ruben Diaz, once he's in, he's going to stay in there forever. He's not going to come out. Either with Diaz, if Man City concede 1 goal, Diaz will get passing bonus, so he's still going to get you 5 points. So if you think over the course of the season, he's getting them 3 points every game. They add up, and there's no other player around him. If you think Liverpool defenders, they're injured, they don't hit passing bonus regularly now. The Chelsea, Chilwell did, but Chilwell won't hit passing bonus any longer because you think their fixtures are very easy if we got passing bonus. Zuma, he will not get passing bonus as much. But you think for Diaz at 9.1, Man City team would love to pass the ball. You have to have him, and I think he's the best value player in the game, so I would do it. If you want, you can either not do it this week. You could gamble that Spurs score one or 2 goals and maybe bring him in next week. So you could have do that.
I guess an option would be Zaha to Diaz if your team structure allowed it. If you had that next week, roughly the same price. Fergie, you got any thoughts?
Just that City's fixtures, for the next few. This is why I haven't got in a Chelsea defender. Obviously, they've had a couple of nice games. They had Sheffield United, which all the defenders all smashed. They've all got passing bonus, whatever else. They're away to Newcastle this weekend. Again, I'm expecting them to all do really well. But after that, they have got a run of tough games. So I kind of held off on a Chelsea defender. But I think Diaz with this run, I haven't got their run in front of me, but they're absolutely crazy. They've got, I think it's 4 of the next 5 against the bottom 4 teams. They're going to have, he's going to get tier 2 passing as an absolute minimum, and that's without, kind of clean sheets, tackle, potentially a goal. I noticed he scored a couple of goals in midweek as well, in the international break as well. So for me, I kind of agree with Liam. He's this year's Van Dijk, and the season before it was whoever it was, Otamendi was it, or someone like that, and wherever else. I think you've got to get him in.
What's your thoughts on captaining him if you don't see the team sheets outside option for captaincy?
I did captain him. I did when Man City played Sheffield United. I captained that day, so he gave me 20 points, so it was good.
Very nice.
So it had, but it's never captain defender. Yeah, I never had De Bruyne, and I think I'd Havertz too, but didn't have Captain Havertz, so I went Diaz. The only thing with Diaz too is see the past few seasons. Remember, I had Otamendi 17-18. Yeah. I think he finished 5th highest score. He finished ahead of Sterling, and then Laporte too. I think he was the 2nd highest scorer. I think he finished higher than Salah. So these Man City defenders, they're must have nearly.
And I noticed as well with Diaz that when Cancelo plays on the left-hand side, he's so attacking that they basically turn into a 3, with Laporte kind of on the left, Diaz right in the middle, and Walker on the right. So Diaz, he's just tossing the ball back between, Walker and Laporte as kind of a 3 almost. So Diaz for me is about as nailed as you can get this season. I even think a doublet with Laporte is not out of the question, even though he is expensive and he is kind of injury prone. We just had a really interesting thing off Ian, which may have swayed the whole Vardy versus Calvert-Lewin debate. That he says Leicester home versus Brighton is possibly the best fixture on Sunday, December the 13th, or maybe even Monday Night Football the next day. The Monday Night Football is a very outside chance that week, but that's interesting, and this is why it's so amazing to have Ian on with us, because these are the kind of little nuggets which I can see Liam pulling faces already. He's thinking, oh,
let's look at the fixtures here.
He's like, oh no, maybe I should be going for Vardy, but yeah, we'll see about that. Tom
It's
Klim.
strange because it's kind of strange that in the past couple of years we'd had kind of 4 or 5 weeks of fixtures. So I would sit down with a piece of paper and I would just plan. I'd bring him in this week, wait for 3 weeks, take him out, get a 3-for-1 here, do that. But now I can't. I'm literally going to have scraps now.
It's tough. Martin Beasley and Tom Klimpson ask about Cancelo. Paul, what do you think about Cancelo?
He's been playing really, really well recently. Yes. He's been hitting different tiers as well. There's just so many options in his position that concerns me. It's not he's competing against one person; he's competing against multiple. But I know that there's a good chance that he could end up playing in centre midfield as well. I think he's got the ability to play sort of double pivot with Rodri as well. So for how much he is, and I appreciate this is different team structure, but I would rather have a fit Antonio maybe around the same price. What Cancelo's like 8.2, I think. So I could be wrong.
We're in front of him, but yeah.
8.2, yeah.
Yeah. I would probably rather have Gabriel or Antonio, knowing that they're nailed for that price. But I definitely wouldn't steer people away from them. It's just my own preference of.
I think that's like a bit of a feast or famine option. He could be absolute gold, especially over this run over the 5 weeks. But if he misses a couple, I think Mendy's back in training as well. I saw just before the international break, Mendy's back in training. Obviously, Zinchenko's there as well. So yeah, I don't think they're guaranteed. England family, surely these lack of fixtures help Fergie. Always a late transfer or two. Thanks for that, mate. Yep, yeah, you're absolutely right. And Aaron says, can Liam stop talking about last season? I'm having flashbacks. For everyone who doesn't know Aaron, Aaron led Sky going into the final few weeks. I'm not even sure if actually leading the whole thing. Going into Gameweek 30, I think he was, wasn't he?
I went top the last 2 weeks, and then that last Wednesday before he was a point ahead of me then.
Yes, I think you're right. And then I think he dropped to 4th or 5th on the last day, which is so unlucky to go from all that out of it all. Have you had your Xbox yet, Aaron? That's what we're interested. I think he was getting an Xbox. Interesting one from Colin Downs. Pereira for Leicester back soon. Apparently he's back in training, and Justin has been a fantastic option. Castagnan is back now as well. There has been rumours of them maybe playing a 5 at the back, but with Fofana in, I think he's fit now as well. Not really sure how Justin fits in there. Any thoughts on Justin? On Justin, I suppose. Paul, on holding on to him and how they're going to kind of set up.
I don't know. I think Pereira's like one of the best players in Sky Fantasy Football. I'm not one for jumping on someone after a long-term injury. We've seen what happened to Aguero earlier on in the season, but 2 or 3 games, I get him in. If he's looking fit, I'd try and get him in at the earliest opportunity. I think he's one of the best players in the game.
I agree. He's absolutely superb. Liam, question for you off Nachiket Wakar. Going to remove TAA, so who should I get in his place? Target, Creswell, or Chilwell?
I could be wrong, but I think it's an FPL question.
Oh, is it?
I think so, based on the back four.
Ah, yes, based on the 4.5s. Okay.
I was going to say DS.
I was going to say DS anyway, indeed. Jean-Luc Furlong, Justin will be benched. Yes, it's interesting. Obviously, Soyuncu will be back in a couple of months as well.
I also said in the group chat, actually my group chat question here is that if you want, you could bring in Zaha on this week on Monday and Friday, and then on the Friday you could take him out and bring in Diaz. So that's another option. So you get a good 2-for-1 there.
Yeah, someone Luke in the chat's asked that specific question, and he's asking about keeping Zaha for the third game. Hopefully, the TV schedule's announced for the following week, because on Ian Parron's planner, there's a chance that, like a 25% chance that Crystal Palace get another single captaincy against West Brom. So I agree with you, Liam. If it's not a standalone game, I'd definitely recommend that move. It would muddy the water slightly if Palace play West Brom on a Friday night. I don't know how you organise what teams get preferential treatment on single days, if that is a thing or not, but there is a chance that gets played on the Friday.
Okay, have we got any more questions off the Twitter, gents? I think there was quite a few this afternoon. If you do have any more questions in the chat,
seen Leon had one. Guaita versus Zaha. Who scores more points over the next 2 games? Already have Guaita, but debating the double up due to Zaha ownership. Paul, Fergie?
Risk it. Depends on your risk appetite as a player. I would say I'm very much, if I didn't own the most highly owned player, like the way that I've been playing the game, if he then hauled, I would be in a huff for about a week. So that's kind of my reason for wanting to do it. I know it's the feast or famine point that you that you make, and I think that missing out on the feast is more worrying for me than using the transfers or using a transfer.
Yeah, I personally think that if I had Guaita, I prefer to have the keepers in a single day situation personally from a defender. I know defenders obviously have got more chance of bonus, but if you do manage to spike a clean sheet from a keeper, you get the 18 points, which is absolutely huge. You take that. That's like a striker scoring and having
shots bonus.
Having shots bonus as well. So I personally wouldn't, because they're 2 decent or potentially decent defensive fixtures as well. And the worst thing that can happen, and I'm sure we've all done this, right, is we've had that kind of poorish, non-sexy option. We've gone for the sexy one, and it's all gone wrong. And Zaha goes off. I don't know. He gets subbed off in the 70th minute in the first, misses a penalty in the second, and Guaita just limps his way to 1 or 2 clean sheets, and you'd have been 20 or 30 points better and a transfer better off. So if it's someone like, I don't know, if it's different, if it's someone like Salah or Kane, right, and they're proper hat-trick material, I think it's different. But with Zaha, he's probably not, hat-trick material, is he? Let's be honest.
Hope not.
Hope not.
So for my plans, I'm planning on bringing in PVA, because I think, because if you think for the 3 games, Burnley, Newcastle, West Brom, what do they do badly? They don't score goals. Crystal Palace, they're pretty good defensively. And if you think them 3 teams, they sit back. So you think Zaha's not going to have much space to run in. You think the goals he got, they're all penalties. He got a goal vs Southampton because they were wide open. Same with Fulham. Apart from that, he hasn't scored from open play. So I'm thinking PVA, if he starts, I can see the lineup too. PVA, he bombs forward. Against Leeds, he got an assist, he got shot bonus. It's a differential pick, but I think it's a risk worth taking. You have to take a risk sometimes. So I'm playing 3 games. Like, you don't get a better 3 games as a defender having Burnley, Newcastle, and West Brom. So I think it's worth the risk.
Ian Parron made a very similar argument to what you're making there, Liam, when it was the first, the overhaul stage, and everyone was jumping on Jimenez as I did. And he said, well, Wolves are set up to be defensive, as Crystal Palace are, I guess, as well. And therefore, why would you choose the attacking option of a defensive set up team. Especially when you already have Guaita, it's maybe different when you don't have any. Although the way that what your suggestion is bringing in PVA, which is attacking that defensive option as well, which is I like it. I think it's I can see you can see the pros and cons of both. I think there's a couple of comments in the chat about that as well. Tom Hartnell said I've captained Patricio when others have captained Jimenez after the overall. He got roughly the same points,
And Newcastle scored, didn't they, in like the 90 wherever the minute, and Patricio would have had another clean, another clean year as well there. So no, I think it's a good point. I think with Van Aanholt as well, you get a couple of bites of the cherry as well, don't you? You know, he still could concede, but also get an attacking return, for example, where he
tackles perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. So do you know what? I'm glad I came on here because I was all set with my transfers. Now I don't know if I'm glad or not actually, because I'm bound to go for the bloody wrong one. You know, I'll go Van Aanholt now, and Palace will win 3-1, Zaha hat trick, and I'll be
In my B team, I've only used 1 or 2 transfers, and I've got Guaita, and I'm thinking of using it. Like the rank's okay. I can't remember what it was, like 8K or something like that. But I'm planning on using very limited transfers and seeing how I get on in the second half of the season. So I'm actually going to keep Guaita on that and not bring in Zaha as well.
I'm hoping that the PVA could be like my Azpilicueta from last season. So
I was thinking that when you mentioned PVA, I was actually thinking that earlier on as well.
I think I've seen too. Your man Mitchell's back too, but at least I get to see the lineup, so that should tell us. But I reckon PVA. Hopefully, he's first choice.
I think he is. I think he played. So in the game before Mitchell got injured, I'm sure he started ahead of him. Or I think, Mitchell moved over onto the right hand side, didn't he? He played at right back, I think, didn't he? And PVA came on the left, or something along those lines. I'm sure the PVA, I'm sure he's nailed on number 1. But yeah, it's a tough one. I got 2 massive decisions: Vardy or DCL, and then PVA or Zaha. Oh.
I think now too the season's really starting, because before we had the fixtures for before the overhaul, after overhaul, so we could plan ahead. But now you're coming to the nitty gritty season where you have to make decisions kind of on the spot, and this is where the season. This is where the season really gets going, which is good.
I like that. It's just people burning. I know I'm talking about making a couple of moves, so I'm maybe contradicting myself, but people burning transfers quite a lot because they're having to make on the spot decisions.
Yeah, but there's making moves, and then there's burning transfers, right? So myself and Paul and Dan have got a kind of a pact this season. I'm right on the button. I think Paul and Dan are doing better than I am, but we're not going to try and let our transfer count exceed the game weeks. And I'm right on the button. So if I make a couple this weekend, I'll have used 9 in 9 game weeks. And I think you're doing better than me, Paul.
For those in the chat and don't use Ian Parron's predictions. That's what So I've got Zaha in my team already.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I've got Zaha in my team already is I had to remove Ings onto someone. And it wasn't for a captaincy, but I moved them onto Zaha based on using Ian's predictions that Crystal Palace would have single game days coming up.
You were just lucky. You were just lucky you had Ben White. Otherwise, you'd have gone on to Callum Wilson like the rest of us.
I probably
would. Me too. I had Jimenez. I took out Jimenez for Son because I gambled that the Liverpool-Leicester game would be on the Sunday, which it is. So I got a 3-for-1, and then I would have planned to do Son to Salah on Sunday. So if you look at that fixture planner, you can always gamble on some of the fixtures and land on a day. Like if you think Leicester, they're always going to be on a Sunday. If you just look at it and gamble, you might get extra game or 2 in there.
Even the non-prediction part, like the fact that there's elements of we know that this has to happen, like the Champions League games on a Tuesday, we know these teams have to play on the Saturday, so that's a perfect time to jump off one of those players, perhaps to get a Sunday player in. Like if we talk about exit strategies quite a lot on players, and you can always, knowing what day the teams play in Europe, you can always work out an exit strategy.
Tom Klimpson, is Matip a good shout? Nailed on centre back for the season now. I see. wouldn't touch Liverpool with a barge pole. I think I was touch anyone. I'd touch Robertson. I know their fixtures are okay, but who's he going to be passing the ball between? Like Nico Williams and Fabinho, maybe. They're just not going to be the same team, and I think the teams are going to target them, and I think they're going to go for it, and I think Liverpool will concede a few goals. They're just not the same team. I think it's.
And especially too, Matip, he's always injury prone. I don't think he plays like 3 games, gets injured for half a season and come back. So he's always injured. I
definitely wouldn't for the Leicester game because, like I say, if I bring Vardy in, I'd be captaining him because I think he's a great option against. He's set. It's set up so perfectly for him. They're going to be on the break. Liverpool are going to be, quite poor at the back or weak at the back, wherever you want to call it. So I think it's set up nicely, but we'll see. Tim Barry, Palace are definitely due a clean sheet. I think Guaita owners can count themselves very, very unlucky. They've conceded a couple really late on as well, haven't they? So and John-Luc Furlong had PVA since overhaul, hoping he will finally reward my patience. Yeah, that is a good. That is a good shout. Ian, Liverpool games will be more like 4-2 most weeks now. I kind of agree, but I'm not convinced because with all really good teams, their play, they keep possession at the back. I think this. Look at Man City last year, how they did without Laporte. They definitely weren't the same team as the season before. And okay, they'll score goals. I do agree with that. But successful high-scoring teams also have the ball players at the back who make the space for the midfielders, find those incisive passes and stuff. But Reese Bloomer asks Liam, one for you: is it worth doing Robertson to Diaz straight swap, even though I don't get the extra game?
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty much. Pretty much.
A stone cold. Then
there's a couple of questions on Twitter.
Yes.
So Niall Murphy, someone
really good player.
Good player.
From memory.
Yeah. Is Dallas enough cover for Sunday, or would you be looking to bring in DCL?
I think Dallas is a really good shout because I think he's going to get passing bonus on Sunday purely because they're playing Arsenal. I think Alien and Dallas are nailed on for passing bonus.
You want a bet?
Yes, I do. Come on.
You can have tier 1, so 60 passes, but both of them have to achieve. But both of them have to achieve it.
Easy right. Peasy.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Arsenal just let the team have the ball, don't they? But yeah, and this is why I'm planning on keeping both Alien and Dallas long term, is because every game that Leeds have played this season, they've had more possession, and they've had some hard games as well. From game week 12, they have some much easier games. So I think
Arsenal don't press, so
this is it.
I think it's.
You can't take it back.
No, I'm not taking it back. I'm not taking it back. Dan's got something loose. So sorry, Liam.
I think to a false back too. I think he won't play in centre mid. I think he's better playing left back than centre mid.
Absolutely.
Because remember against Crystal Palace, he was nowhere near passing bonus. He was nowhere near tackle bonus. So I think playing left back seems to kind of help him much more. But
that's a point weighted there, mate. I'm sorry. I'm absolutely nailed on for that. Brownie, let us know if you've had your mug, Brownie. He won the mug a couple of weeks ago. Any updates on Fergie's injury? Is it worth a transfer for anyone who saw the FPL podcast this week? I'm sat exactly as I'm sat now, with my legs tucked under my chair, and I've been sat here for hours. And I don't know if anyone gets it, where they just get a sudden cramping up in their thigh, and if you can kind of jump out quickly and straighten your leg really quickly, it kind of goes. And that happened exactly, but it was in the middle of a podcast, so everyone thought that was really, really funny, and they posted it on Twitter as well. But it did hurt. Thanks for that. It's fine now. Thank you very much.
The only other real question was actually about this live stream. Do your work schedules allow you to have a regular Friday night Sky FF podcast? The last one was great. seems like a great opportunity to get audience engagement when everybody is still planning transfers following pressers. I know that you and I tend to be okay-ish without wanting to commit to Friday nights, but I know it doesn't work for Dan as much. But I think we were talking about perhaps doing it as and when there's big news, like so after international break, obviously, as we are just now, when there's Friday night games on, there's good opportunity to do it, especially when people are still looking at transfers to bring players in.
Yeah. So I think, I think as well, it's like this time for me, so obviously worked all day, don't mind doing a quick hour stream at the end of the working day. We've always got a lot of people we can call on, come on as well. But, I don't want to be doing Friday night at 8:00 after working a full day, or particularly a Saturday morning at lunchtime with the kids and stuff. But yeah, we'll just do them as much as we can, right? We'll do them as regularly as we can. Even if only one of us can kind of make it, we may just kind of hop on, assuming everyone finds it useful, for those last minute sort of things. But it definitely is a Q&A. We haven't prepped anything, right? We've just said let's go and have a chat with everyone. So if everyone's happy with that, I think that would be good. Okay. If you've got any final questions, we've got a few more minutes. Any final questions? Get them in quickly. Was there anything else on Twitter, guys? I noticed there was a few earlier.
I think I covered Twitter.
We've exhausted them.
Yeah, there's a couple more questions in the chat.
Who to bring in between KDB or Diaz? I can't decide. What a question that is. Off AWB91. What a good question. I think you need both over this coming run. But if you have to choose one, Liam, who would you say?
Oh, that's a hard question. I go Diaz because if you look at the past few years, top scorers, you think Laporte and Otamendi past previous years, they have been up with KDB. So you think KDB is 11.5 million. So you're saving 2.5 million. Diaz will bring you a steady stream of points, but KDB is more explosive. But over the course of the season, they're going to be on, I reckon, similar enough points. KDB probably score a bit more, but you think that 2.5 million, you can do a lot more with that. I have two in my team, so I think you have to have both of them in my team too. But if I had to go one, I would just go DS because you save 2.5 million and you can use that to upgrade your team.
Paul, question of Chris D. Apologies, Chris. No one answered my question. Grealish versus KDB. That's a tough one as well because I think we're talking about players.
I assume it's a Salah. Yeah, I assume it's a Salah replacement.
Is that the captain to bring in?
Bring in, I think.
I think it's bring in.
Yeah.
I would have a plan to bring in both and bring both in a way that works for your team. That works for your team. So it's Grealish plays
on the Monday night, next Monday night against West Ham.
Yeah, so Grealish plays at home at Brighton. Although people will be captain, I imagine Bruno's going to be the highest captained player tomorrow. So, as painful as it sounds, I would probably say the same. I would forgo him just now, bring in KDB, and then use one of your transfers to bring in Grealish next Monday night.
Both of their fixtures mint for the next 5, 6, 7 game weeks as well. So yeah, I would say to get on both. Ian Parrott, what's Paul's current overhaul lineup? So we will finish off with this one, I think. Paul, so sorry to put you completely on the spot. Very roughly.
So for the first time in a while, I guess my team, like my perfect team of what I want to get to, isn't too far away from what I had said last time, like week to week. Gabriel, Diaz, that like probably Dallas in defence, and then an enabler. So you can have Konza, Ben White. So if you want to mix it up in case there's going to be a single captaincy day, because I know that you think that Friday night game is going to be Brighton, so it looks like I've landed on my feet. Or Vestergaard or someone, Vestergaard, someone like that. Mesley in goals, I think. Not Mesley in goals, sorry. Martinez in goals, because I think Villa's fixtures are really good and he offers brilliant value. De Bruyne, Bruno and Grealish based on ownership and captaincy potential. And then up front, obviously doesn't have Salah in it now. I would maybe You got Zaha, don't you? Like Zaha, DCL, Kane, and/or Vardy, like somewhere, like use it. I think you'd have to use a transfer somewhere in there to get the most out of the games. But yes, like something along those lines. Lamptey or Ben White for that enabler spot would work as well, I think. Or Kufal, I think 6.1. West Ham.
How many roughly have you got of those, Liam? Of those, 11 or 12?
90% pretty much.
Yeah, the same. Yeah.
I haven't planned, so I have Schreiberg, so I'll take him out for PVA, keep PVA to the West Brom game. I hope that West Brom game's on Saturday, so then I can transfer him out. So my options would be Gabriel from Arsenal, Zuma. So I'm going to keep an eye. So at least I can wait if any injuries come up. One I'd really like, I kind of wish Azpilicueta get injured because I think Reece James, his price, he could be really, really good. Every time I see him, you get passing bonus, tackles, on corners. So I wouldn't mind Azpilicueta a wee cold or something. I can fit him in, but yeah. So my plan now is to kind of get to Christmas, try and have 25 transfers left. Christmas in the game weeks terms, it's earlier this year.
Yeah.
I think last year I had 20. So, but I think this year 25, you should be grand.
Oh, you had 20 last year? Yeah.
20
last
I
was thinking this because the season started a month later, didn't it? So I was thinking about that. That's interesting. So
20 Christmas, and then the overhaul, I think it was the first week in February, second. And that's where I used a few there. And at 17 at the second overhaul, which is the second week in February usually. Sky haven't told us when it's coming this year, so hopefully they'll clear it up. And then at the restart, then I had 12, and then I had 15 at the second overhaul, and then when the game restarted, I had 9. So I had pretty decent amount of transfers left.
Brilliant insight there, mate. So 25 transfers for Christmas. If
That's
anyone's
my plan. That's the plan.
That's the plan. How many you've got at the moment? Will you share or not?
I have 35 now, so
35.
35.
And Paul's on 35 as well.
Because there's a lot I think between now and Christmas, there's a lot of games coming up. I think you said there's 59 games in 61 days. So you're probably going to get a lot of kind of 2-for-1s, maybe even 3-for-1s. So that's when the transfers could become handy.
I actually think I've got 34, by the way. So apologies for misleading you, Fergie.
Right. I do think getting rid of Højbjerg, if you're holding on to Kane, is a wise choice as well, because obviously it just spreads out that extra team for captaincy in the future. So I like Højbjerg, but like I say, the fixtures are coming up. I'm not sure he's going to get all the passing stats. He's probably just that little bit too expensive to be a true enabler in here. 10.4, which is why I'm moving Højbjerg onto Zaha as well.
Yeah, I think especially Højbjerg, he never got passing bonus v Brighton against West Ham, and that's kind of, if he's not getting passing bonus against them two teams, when he comes against Man U, even like Wolves, Leicester, decent teams, he's probably not going to get it too. So
I think he was one short against West Brom, wasn't he? Tier one part. I mean, if you can't get it against West Brom, I mean that's not good. Especially when, as we say, we've got players like Ayling and Dallas who are getting it, practically every game. So anyway, we will leave it there, gents. Thank you so much to everyone for your usual support and interaction. We will be back on Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. Dan Cox will be back. Please, if everyone on, if they could like the stream, that would be superb. Apologies for all the messing about at the start. We tried something different, it didn't work, but hopefully this has worked okay by the look of it. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. You'll find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, Dan's article this week, another superb article from Dan Cox. Good luck to all our watchers and listeners this week. We will be back on Sunday with Dan dissecting the weekend's action and celebrating Jamie Vardy's hat-trick and Calvert-Lewin's hamstring injury. Good night all.